Well, this is all bad. This sounds terrible. Most of this is in the cities. Um, the farmers are having a hard time. So, it's kind of bad, both city, both farm. But then it gets worse, if that's possible. Okay. During this time period, some horrific thing happens from Texas all the way to North Dakota. It's called the Dust Bowl. Huge dust storms wiping out farming in this area. It's caused by overplowed, overproduced land. And a long period, there's a big drought during this time period, and it wipes out. If the farmers hadn't been foreclosed on, they got wiped out by the dust storm all through the Midwest. Lots of them are going to pack up their stuff. They're called Okies. They leave in Oklahoma, heading for California, and try to head to California, try to find anywhere to get away from the dust storms. I mean, look at this. How horrific would this be? As everything you own is just blown away. This is horrible. So your farmers are just wiped out in the middle of the country by the Dust Bowl. Terrible disaster. You might have read or heard of The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. Great book, great movie about this time period and the hardships of these people. Because that's everything you own. That's the land that you planted on, and now the topsoil has blown away. This land is useless. You can't farm on it. You got to find something else to do. So, big problems with the Dust Bowl. Pause here. One of the most well-known pictures from this time period is of this family, the mother and the little baby and her son. As you look at her, think, she's living basically in a tent, doesn't have anything. You think about what she's thinking about. She's a Midwestern person right in the middle of the Dust Bowl. My first thoughts are, as I look at her, she's thinking about, can I feed my family? What am I going to do? I mean, this is, you can see the desperation on these people's faces. Makes you sick. How did it affect people? Well, people drew into their families as tight as they could. Went back to traditional values, importance of the family unit. Everybody tried to bond as much as they could. Families stayed home, played board games, listened to the radio if they happened to have a radio or a board game. Tried to do what they can, the cheapest entertainment they can come up with. A lot of men had difficulty with this. Unemployment was hard. They're supposed to be the breadwinners. They're supposed to take care of the family. There's the Puritan work ethic where you're supposed to go out there and work hard and good things will come to you if you just work hard. Well, all of a sudden they don't have a job anymore. They can't support their families. They don't know what to do. Some just run away. Some become hobos. They hitch rides on railroad cars, sleep under bridges, looking for work wherever they can find it, doing whatever they can. Some just run away, period. Don't even come back. They just can't deal with this. Pause here. Women, on the other hand, are now, they're doing what they've always done. They figure out ways to get by, manage the household budget, make ends meet. Women who had jobs were very much resented because they were holding down jobs while men were out of work. And men were not happy. When women had jobs, they were very upset about it because these women, you figure that they must be married and their husband must be providing money. Now they're holding down a job that could go to a man so he could provide for his family. A lot of men not happy with women for holding down jobs, taking jobs away from men. Children have all kinds of problems during this time period. Poor diet, there's very little to eat, lack of health care. Not a lot of people can afford to go see a doctor, go to the hospital. Schools are closed. A lot of schools are closed as thousands of children go to work. Whatever work they can find, when I say work, there's not much to do. But whatever, if you can make a dime doing anything, kids are looking for work everywhere. Thousands of kids begging everywhere, looking for work, looking for handouts, doing whatever as the family tries to, they use the women, use the children, use anybody to find some food, find a job, find some money, find something. This is a dire situation. It's bad. Pause here. It's demoralizing. It's hard day after day to try to figure out where your next meal is going to come from. Knowing you don't have a job, what do you do? Some people lose their will to survive. Suicide rates go up by 30% or more. It's tough. You have to make a lot of sacrifices. You go without health care. You go without college education. A lot of people don't get married because they can't afford to. For many people that live through this, their fear of poverty never goes away. They interviewed some people years later, and the one theme that came up over and over and over again is that the goal of many of these people, especially the kids who were living during this time period, is they never wanted to be poor again, ever. They would do anything to never be poor again, that this was so hard and so tough on them. They wanted to do whatever it took to never be poor again. Some people stepped up. The richer people stepped up. There was kindness and generosity. If you did have something, a lot of Americans shared it. They donated. They tried to provide for everybody, the people who lost their jobs, lost their homes, lost their savings. People tried to help each other as best they could. If they had anything, they tried to share it for the most part. And most Americans did a good job of sharing and helping out. From this time period, you're going to have a whole generation of people who are always going to be worried about their job and money and saving and being thrifty and getting a good deal. Those ideas will never leave them because they are so afraid of being poor. They never want to be in this situation again. Pause here. Meanwhile, okay, for people who could afford it, for people who had jobs, there was escape entertainment. There was entertainment that was designed to get you away from all these problems. Some of the best known movies ever come out. Walt Disney comes out with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. The Wizard of Oz shows up. Gone with the Wind comes out. Some great, great movies are coming out of Hollywood at this time. These are escapism for people trying to get away from these horrible things. If they were lucky enough to be able to afford it, there was some good stuff going on. Radio had started soap operas and good things like that where you could go escapism, where they talked about good times and good things. The most prominent literature of the day was Steinbeck's Grapes of Wrath, which was talking about the social situation and the lack of government action and how hard it was. So Steinbeck comes up with The Grapes of Wrath, which is a book you should be familiar with. All right, pause here. Well, where is the government? Okay, you're thinking to yourself, oh, these people are starving, everything is going poorly. Why hasn't the government helped? The shanty towns take on a name. People start calling them Hoovervilles. Okay, these thrown together places where people are living, they call them Hoovervilles because President Hoover is not helping. And the public says, hey, government, why don't you do something? And they are really looking towards Hoover to help. Please help us. We're suffering here. And there's a big anti-Hoover movement. Pause here. So what does Hoover say about this? Hoover says America is a country born on rugged individualism. You should succeed by your own efforts. Go out there and get a job. Do something. Okay? He's opposed to federal welfare. He's opposed to direct the relief for the needy. He's not going to give anybody anything. He feels that the government should negotiate cooperation between businesses and corporations and the people. And it should be private charity and private businesses that step up and to take care of this thing. And the federal government doesn't have anything to do with this. It's not the federal government's problem. It's your problem. Okay? Whatever you did, you got into this mess, and you're going to have to get out of it. We're not going to help you. And that's what Hoover thinks. And that's what a large group of people think. But as this goes on, and people keep trying and they're just not getting it done, even Hoover says, hey, maybe we should try something. He tries the Reconstruction Finance Company. He tries to free up some money and make loans to businesses so that maybe the businesses can rehire some people and maybe they can get back to work and do something. But this Hoover's Reconstruction Finance Corporation is very cautious. They don't want to lend out very much money, and they really don't meet the need. It just doesn't happen. So Hoover takes little tiny steps when there should be big steps, and he just doesn't get it. He thinks that you should be able to get out of this, but you can't get out of it. Pause here. So we come to the election of 1932. And Hoover's running against this guy named Franklin Roosevelt. Okay, Roosevelt, you have to understand a little bit about Roosevelt. Roosevelt's from a very rich family. He is related to Teddy Roosevelt from the Roosevelt family of New York. They have lots of money, lots of stuff. Roosevelt's going to promise, as he runs for president, that he's going to bring you a new deal. Okay, that this old deal is not working. This whole idea that the government shouldn't help you and shouldn't get involved isn't working, and it's time for a new deal. And he's promising that the government will walk in and help you. Hoover, in the meantime, calls Roosevelt a fraud, says he's a chameleon in plaid, says that this rich guy is walking around in plaid shirts trying to appeal to the average man with all his plans about I'll help you and I'll help you when he doesn't understand a thing about you. So Hoover's calling Roosevelt a fraud. Well, people have had enough of Hoover and really don't care what Hoover has to say because Hoover didn't help them and things are really, really bad. So in the election of 1932, Roosevelt just wipes Hoover off the map, 472 to 59 in the Electoral College. If you look at it, okay, Roosevelt wins all the blue states. Well, that's a wipeout. Okay, Democrats come in. Republicans have been in charge all through the 20s. All the Republicans are gone. Democrats come in, control the White House, control Congress, control everything. And Roosevelt says to the people, he says, look, this has been horrible and terrible, but stop being afraid. He says the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. I'll fix this. We can fix this. We can do it. This New Deal program can solve all your problems. So we will leave here. The Great Depression is still going on, but at least we got a plan. A New Deal. Roosevelt's going to step in with a New Deal, and we're going to see what that is in the next chapter.